The little girl stood very still at the kitchen door. She did not cry. She did not speak. She only stared at the plate in her mother's hand. Cold rice. Half-burnt chicken skin. Food scraped from someone else's plate. Eat it, her mother said flatly. Food is food. 9-year-old Lucy Carter swallowed hard. Her stomach hurt, not just from hunger, but from shame. She had learned long ago that arguing only made things worse. Her mother, Diana Carter, dropped the plate on the table like it was trash. This is what you get when you don't deserve more, Diana added. Lucy nodded and sat down quietly. What she did not know, what she could not know, was that this single plate of leftovers was about to change her life forever. Because someone had seen everything. And that someone was a millionaire. Earlier that evening. Brooklyn, New York. The apartment looked neat. Too neat. Diana Carter liked control. She liked silence. She liked things done her way. She adjusted the throw pillow on the couch just as the front door opened. "Hey," said Ethan Walker, smiling as he stepped inside. He was tall, well-dressed, and calm in a way that made people trust him instantly. Ethan owned multiple tech companies. His name appeared in business magazines. But inside this apartment, he was just Diana's boyfriend. Diana forced a warm smile. "You're early." "I canceled a meeting," Ethan replied. "I wanted to spend time with you." He leaned in and kissed her cheek. On the kitchen counter, a carefully prepared plate waited: grilled chicken, vegetables, warm bread. Diana handed it to him proudly. "Eat. You must be tired." Ethan laughed softly. "You take such good care of me." She liked hearing that. As he ate, Diana opened her phone and sat beside him. "Look," she said, scrolling through pictures. "I was thinking, maybe a vacation. Miami? Or California?" Ethan smiled. "Anywhere with you sounds good." For a moment, everything felt perfect. Too perfect. Then, "Mom?" A small voice broke the air like glass. Ethan froze. Diana stiffened. Slowly, he turned his head. A little girl stood in the hallway. Thin. Pale. Wearing clothes that were clearly too small. Her eyes were big and uncertain. "Who is that?" Ethan asked gently. Diana's heart started pounding. She hesitated. "This is Lucy." "Lucy?" Ethan repeated. "You're my daughter." The silence that followed was heavy. "You never told me you had a child," Ethan said, not angry, confused. Lucy's fingers curled into the fabric of her shirt. "I was going to," Diana said quickly. I didn't know how." Ethan stood up slowly and smiled at Lucy. "Hi, Lucy. I'm Ethan." Lucy looked at her mother first. Diana gave a short nod. "Hi," Lucy whispered. Ethan crouched to her level. "Nice to meet you." Lucy nodded again. Her stomach growled loudly. Diana's face hardened. After Lucy disappeared back into her room, Ethan turned to Diana. "Why didn't you tell me?" Diana crossed her arms. "Because men leave when they hear single mother." "That's not fair," Ethan said. "I wouldn't have left." "You don't know that," Diana snapped. Ethan sighed. "Did something happen earlier?" Lucy looked pale. "She choked on food," Diana replied casually. Ethan's eyes widened. "What?" "We should take her to a doctor." No, he repeated. "She's fine." "Kids exaggerate." "Diana." I said no. Her tone was sharp. "We'll go for a walk. She'll have ice cream." End of story. Ethan hesitated, then nodded. He didn't want to push her. Not yet. They walked down the street together. Lucy lagged behind, her steps slow. "What food do you like?" Ethan asked her kindly. Lucy looked at her mother. "Answer," Diana ordered. "Lentils," Lucy said softly. Diana smiled proudly. "See? Healthy. Balanced. Not junk." "What about ice cream?" Ethan asked. "No sugar," Diana said immediately. "Water is enough." Lucy's shoulders dropped. At a street corner, a man sold drinks from old bottles. Diana bought one and handed it to Lucy. "Barley water," she said. Ethan took a sip. His face changed instantly. "This is tap water," he said quietly. "Dirty tap water." Diana shrugged. "She'll survive." Something inside Ethan shifted. At the bus stop, Lucy climbed in. The driver held out his hand. Fare. She's a child, Ethan said. Kids don't pay. They do here, the driver replied. Diana shook her head. We're not paying. Lucy's eyes filled with tears. I have money, she whispered, holding out a few coins. Diana slapped her hand away. I said no. Lucy was forced to get off the bus. They walked home in silence. Back at the apartment, Lucy was exhausted. You didn't clean, Diana said coldly. You're grounded. I was walking, Lucy protested. I'm hungry. Diana's eyes narrowed. Give me $2,000. Lucy froze. That's Dad's gift. I own everything here, Diana snapped. Lucy went to her room and returned with shaking hands. She cleaned the house silently. Later, Diana scraped leftovers onto a plate. Eat, she said. That was when Ethan, standing quietly in the doorway, saw it. And realized something was very, very wrong. The knock on the door was sharp and sudden. Diana frowned. She was not expecting anyone. Stay there, she snapped at Lucy, who was halfway through chewing the cold food. Lucy froze, the fork trembling in her hand. Diana opened the door. Surprise, a cheerful voice said. Standing outside was Margaret Walker, Ethan's mother. She was in her early 60s, well-dressed, warm-eyed, and carrying a small gift bag. I was nearby, Margaret said with a smile. Ethan told me about you. I wanted to finally meet the woman who stole my son's heart. Ethan's face drained of color. Mom, you should have called. Margaret laughed lightly and stepped inside, then stopped. Her smile slowly faded. The apartment was clean, but something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too cold. Her eyes moved toward the dining table. That was when she saw Lucy. The child sat stiffly on a chair, shoulders hunched, eating from a chipped plate. The food looked old, cold, barely edible. Margaret's heart dropped. Who is that little angel? She asked gently. Diana replied quickly, that's my daughter. Margaret walked closer and bent down slightly. Hello, sweetheart, she said warmly. What's your name? Lucy glanced at her mother. Diana didn't nod this time. Lucy whispered, Lucy. Margaret noticed her thin arms, her dull hair, the way she avoided eye contact. And then she noticed the plate. That's dinner? Margaret asked softly. Yes, Diana said sharply. She eats what's available. Margaret straightened slowly. Children should eat fresh meals, she said. Especially growing girls. Diana crossed her arms. I don't raise spoiled kids. Ethan stepped in. Mom, maybe? No, Margaret said calmly. Let me look at her. She gently lifted Lucy's sleeve. Bruises. Faint, but visible. Margaret's breath caught. Diana, she said quietly. What happened here? Lucy's fork slipped from her hand and clattered to the floor. I fell, Lucy said quickly, her voice shaking. Diana smiled thinly. See? Clumsy. Margaret's eyes filled with anger. Margaret pulled Ethan aside. This child is not okay, she whispered urgently. She's starving. She's scared. Ethan nodded slowly. I know. I've been seeing signs all day. We cannot ignore this, Margaret said firmly. Across the room, Diana watched them closely. What are you two whispering about? She demanded. About how you punish a child by starving her, Margaret replied, no longer holding back. Diana's face flushed. This is none of your business. When a child is abused, Margaret said coldly, it becomes everyone's business. Abused? Diana laughed sharply. You rich people think discipline is abuse. Margaret's voice trembled with fury. You made her walk miles instead of paying bus fare. You deny her food. You humiliate her. I'm teaching her life, Diana snapped. No one taught me. Lucy sat silently, tears streaming down her face. Ethan's heart shattered. Diana, he said, this has to stop. Diana turned to him slowly. Are you choosing them over me? I'm choosing what's right, Ethan replied. Diana stepped toward Lucy and grabbed her arm. You see what you cause, she hissed. People interfering. Margaret rushed forward. Don't touch her. Diana shoved Lucy toward her room. Get out. Diana screamed. All of you. This is my house. Margaret wrapped an arm around Lucy protectively. "This child is coming with us," she said firmly. "You touch her and I'll call the police," Diana threatened. "Do it," Margaret said. "I dare you." Silence filled the room. Diana's eyes burned with hatred, not at Margaret, but at Lucy. "You ruin everything," she spat. Lucy broke down completely. Ethan knelt beside her. "I promise," he whispered, "this won't continue." Outside, in the hallway, Margaret wrapped her coat around Lucy's thin shoulders. "You are safe with us," she said gently. Lucy looked up with red, swollen eyes. "You won't tell my mom?" she asked fearfully. Margaret swallowed hard. "We will protect you," she said. From the doorway, Diana watched them leave. Her jaw tightened. "This isn't over," she muttered. And she was right. Because this was only the beginning. The next morning, Lucy walked to school alone. Her backpack was old, one strap torn and tied in a knot. Her shoes were a size too small, rubbing blisters into her heels, but she didn't complain. She never did. At school, laughter echoed across the playground. Lucy stayed near the wall. She watched other kids open lunchboxes filled with sandwiches, fruit, juice boxes. Her stomach growled quietly. She pretended not to notice. Inside the classroom, Ms. Reynolds, Lucy's teacher, paused while taking attendance. "Lucy Miller," she called. Lucy raised her hand. Ms. Reynolds frowned slightly. Lucy looked thinner than last week. Dark circles rested under her eyes. When class began, Lucy struggled to focus. Her head felt heavy. Her vision blurred. Then it happened. Lucy slid sideways in her chair and collapsed. "Lucy!" Ms. Reynolds shouted. The classroom erupted in screams. Moments later, Lucy lay on the floor, eyes half open, lips pale. The school nurse rushed in. "Low blood sugar," she said grimly after checking Lucy's vitals. "When was the last time she ate?" Lucy whispered, barely audible last night. Ms. Reynolds' hands clenched into fists. In the nurse's office, Lucy sipped juice slowly. Ms. Reynolds sat beside her. "Lucy," she said softly, "do you eat breakfast at home?" Lucy hesitated, then shook her head. "What about dinner?" the teacher asked. Lucy stared at the floor. "Sometimes leftovers," she whispered. Ms. Reynolds swallowed hard. "And your mom?" Lucy's shoulders stiffened. "She says food is expensive," Lucy murmured. "And I don't deserve fresh food if I don't behave." Ms. Reynolds felt her heart crack. That afternoon, Ethan's phone rang. "Mr. Walker," a calm but serious voice said. "This is Lucy's school." Ethan's stomach dropped. Minutes later, he was driving faster than he ever had before. Margaret was already waiting at the school when he arrived. They were led into a small office. Ms. Reynolds didn't waste time. "Lucy fainted today," she said. "She's malnourished. And what she told me, it's alarming." Ethan closed his eyes. Margaret reached for his hand. Lucy sat quietly on the chair, legs dangling. Ethan knelt in front of her. "You're not in trouble," he said gently. "I promise." Lucy looked at Margaret. Margaret nodded. "Sweetheart, you're safe." Lucy's lips trembled. "She hates me," Lucy whispered. "My mom." Ethan's heart shattered. "She says I remind her of my dad. She says everything went wrong because of me." Margaret inhaled sharply. "Lucy, what happened to your father?" Lucy hesitated. "My mom says he died," she said. "In a car accident. Because I was sick and he had to rush for medicine." Ethan froze. A strange feeling crept over him. "What was his name?" Ethan asked carefully. Lucy sniffed. "Michael Miller." Margaret's eyes widened. Ethan stood up slowly. "That's not possible," he whispered. Outside the office, Ethan pulled out his phone and searched. His hands trembled. Michael Miller. The results appeared instantly. Alive. Successful. A well-known businessman in the city. Ethan's blood ran cold. "This man isn't dead," he said to Margaret. "He's alive. And I know him." Margaret stared at the screen. "This changes everything," she said. Inside the office, Lucy waited quietly, unaware that her life, her future, was about to change forever. Diana was counting money when the doorbell rang. She frowned. No one ever came unannounced, except trouble. She opened the door and froze. Ethan stood there. Margaret beside him. And behind them, Lucy. Lucy's eyes were swollen from crying. "What is this?" Diana snapped. "Why is she with you?" Ethan didn't raise his voice. That scared Diana more than shouting. "We need to talk," he said. "This is not a good time," Diana replied, trying to close the door. Margaret stopped it with her hand. "You don't get to shut doors anymore," she said firmly. They sat in the living room. Lucy stood near the wall, silent. Ethan looked straight at Diana. "Lucy fainted at school." Diana shrugged. "Kids are dramatic." "She was malnourished," Margaret said. "The school has records." Diana's jaw tightened. Ethan leaned forward. "Now tell me about Michael Miller." The color drained from Diana's face. "What about him?" she said quickly. "You said he was dead," Ethan continued. "You told Lucy her father died in a car accident." Diana laughed nervously. "And? He's alive," Ethan said calmly. "Very alive." Silence. Lucy's breath caught. "What?" she whispered. Diana stood up suddenly. "You had no right to dig into my past. You had no right to lie to a child about her father," Margaret snapped. Lucy stepped forward slowly. "My dad isn't dead?" she asked, her voice shaking. Diana looked at her, eyes cold. "He abandoned us," Diana said sharply. "Left me with nothing." "That's not what the records show," Ethan said. "He's been searching for you." Lucy's legs weakened. "All this time," she whispered. "You let me believe I killed him?" Diana's face twisted. "I did what I had to do." Lucy burst into tears. "I hated myself," she sobbed. "Every night." Margaret pulled Lucy into her arms. "That's over now," she whispered. Ethan stood. "You lied. You starved her. You abused her. And now the school is involved." Diana laughed bitterly. "You think being rich makes you right?" "No," Ethan said. "Being human does." Diana pointed at Lucy. "Take her then. Let her run to her precious father. She'll come back when she realizes life isn't a fairy tale." Lucy looked at her mother one last time. "Why don't you love me?" she asked softly. Diana turned away. "Because you remind me of everything I lost." That was the moment Lucy stopped crying. Something inside her broke. And healed at the same time. Ethan took Lucy's hand. "We're leaving," he said. "And we're contacting your father." Diana smirked. "You'll regret this." Margaret looked her straight in the eyes. "No," she said. "You will." As the door closed behind them, Diana stood alone in the silent apartment. For the first time, no one was afraid of her. Lucy didn't speak during the drive. She sat in the back seat, hands clenched in her lap, staring out the window as the city lights blurred past. Every street felt unreal, like she had stepped out of one life and into another without warning. Ethan kept glancing at her through the mirror. "You don't have to meet him today," he said gently. "Only if you're ready." Lucy swallowed. "I've been ready my whole life," she whispered. Margaret reached back and squeezed her hand. "He's nervous too," she said. "Very nervous." Lucy looked up. "You talked to him?" Ethan nodded. "I called him after we left your mother's place." Lucy's chest tightened. "What did he say?" "He cried," Ethan replied honestly. "For a long time." They stopped in front of a modest white house near a quiet lake. Nothing fancy. No guards. No luxury cars. Lucy frowned. "I thought, if he's alive, I thought he'd be rich or something." Ethan smiled sadly. "He's rich in regrets." A man stood on the porch. Tall. Slightly gray at the temples. His hands were shaking. The moment Lucy saw him, her heart slammed against her ribs. "That's him?" she asked. "Yes," Margaret said softly. "That's Michael." The man stepped forward, but then stopped, afraid to come closer. Lucy opened the car door herself. Every step toward him felt heavy. When she was only a few feet away, the man finally spoke. "Lucy?" His voice cracked. "You've grown so much." Her throat burned. "You're really my dad?" she asked. He nodded, tears rolling freely down his face. "I never stopped being your father," he said. "Not for a single day." They sat inside the house, silence thick between them. Michael took out an old photo album with trembling hands. "This is the last picture I have of you," he said. Lucy stared. It was her, 3 years old, sitting on his shoulders, laughing. "You look happy," she murmured. "I was," he said. "Until your mother disappeared with you." Lucy's head snapped up. "She said you left." Michael shook his head. "She took you while I was at work. Changed numbers. Changed addresses. Told the court I abandoned you." Lucy felt dizzy. "I thought I killed you," she whispered. Michael's face crumpled. "Oh God, she told you that?" Lucy nodded, tears falling silently. "I stopped asking for food," Lucy said. "I thought I didn't deserve it." Michael covered his mouth, choking back a sob. "I looked for you for years," he said. "But she vanished." Ethan clenched his fists. "And now," Michael added, "I'm not letting her take you away again." At the same time, Diana sat in her apartment, dialing a number. "I want custody protection," she snapped. "Immediately." The lawyer on the other end hesitated. "Ms. Parker, there are reports." "Lies," Diana hissed. "My daughter was stolen." She hung up and poured herself a drink. "They think they've won," she muttered. "They don't know me." She grabbed her coat. "If Lucy wants war," she said coldly, "she'll get one." That night, Lucy sat by the lake with Michael. The water reflected the moon. "Do you hate her?" Lucy asked. Michael thought for a moment. "No," he said. "But I hate what she did to you." Lucy hugged her knees. "What if the judge sends me back?" Michael knelt in front of her. "Then I'll fight harder," he said. "But I promise you this." He placed a hand over his heart. "You will never eat leftovers again. You will never beg for love again. And you will never be alone again." Lucy leaned into him slowly, then fully. For the first time in her life, she felt safe. The courthouse smelled like old paper and fear. Lucy felt it the moment she stepped inside. Her fingers trembled as she held Michael's hand. He didn't let go, not even for a second. "You're not alone," he whispered. "Look at me when it gets hard." Across the room, Diana sat stiffly in a sharp black dress, makeup flawless, eyes empty. She didn't look at Lucy. She looked at Michael like he was the enemy. And maybe, in her mind, he was. The judge entered. Diana stood first. "Your Honor," she said, voice calm and rehearsed, "I admit I made mistakes. But I am a single mother who did everything to survive." Lucy's stomach twisted. Diana continued, "My daughter was manipulated by wealthy outsiders who wanted to play hero. She was taken without my consent." She finally looked at Lucy. "I loved my child," Diana said. "I disciplined her." Lucy felt her throat close. Michael's lawyer stood. "Your Honor, we present school records showing chronic malnutrition." Photos appeared on the screen. Lucy in torn shoes. Lucy fainting in class. Lucy eating leftovers alone. Diana's jaw tightened. Margaret testified next. "She was starving," she said simply. And she believed it was her fault. A social worker followed. "Ms. Parker repeatedly refused medical care," she stated. "And we have audio recordings of verbal abuse." Diana stood abruptly. "She's lying." The judge raised a hand. "Sit down, Ms. Parker." "Lucille Miller," the judge said gently. "Do you wish to speak?" Lucy froze. Michael squeezed her hand. She stepped forward. "My mom told me my dad died because of me," Lucy said softly. "So I stopped asking for food." Gasps filled the room. "She said love had to be earned," Lucy continued. "I tried, but it was never enough." Diana's face twisted. "Enough," Diana shouted. "She's dramatic." Lucy turned toward her. "No," she said quietly. "I was scared." Silence fell. The judge removed her glasses. "Miss Parker," she said firmly, "love is not discipline. Fear is not parenting." Diana's lips parted. "I am granting temporary full custody to Michael Miller," the judge continued. "With supervised visitation only." Lucy's knees almost gave out. Michael caught her. Diana laughed bitterly. "This isn't over," she hissed. Outside the courthouse, reporters gathered. Diana pushed past them, furious. Michael knelt in front of Lucy. "You were brave," he said. Lucy whispered, "I told the truth." "And that," he replied, "is power." Margaret hugged Lucy tightly. "You're safe now," she said. Lucy looked back at the courthouse one last time. For years, it had loomed in her nightmares. Now it felt smaller. Lucy thought freedom would feel louder. Instead, it was quiet. The kind of quiet that made her flinch at first. No shouting, no slammed doors, no counting every bite of food. Just space. Too much space. She woke up in Michael's house before sunrise, heart racing, convinced she had overslept and would be punished. Then she remembered. She wasn't there anymore. She sat up slowly, the soft blanket falling from her shoulders. On the bedside table sat a full glass of milk and a note in messy handwriting. "Good morning, superstar. Breakfast is whenever you're ready. Dad." Lucy stared at the word Dad. Her chest tightened. At breakfast, Lucy hesitated before touching the food. Michael noticed immediately. "You don't have to ask," he said gently. "It's yours." Lucy nodded and took a small bite. Then another. Then another. For the first time, she ate until she was full and didn't feel guilty about it. Margaret watched quietly from the kitchen. "She checks the fridge every hour," she whispered to Michael later. "Just to see if the food is still there." Michael's eyes filled. "She'll stop checking," he said. One day, across town, Diana sat alone in her apartment, surrounded by silence and empty bottles. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered sharply. "What?" "Miss Parker," a woman's voice said. "This is Child Protective Services." Diana scoffed. "Already one?" "Actually," the voice continued, "we received additional reports." Diana sat up. "From whom?" "The school." "And a hospital." Diana's breath caught. "There's more," the woman said. "A complaint was filed 5 years ago. It was buried." Diana's hand shook. "By whom?" she demanded. There was a pause. "By your former attorney." The line went dead. Diana stared at the wall. Something was coming. Something she couldn't control. That afternoon, Michael received a package. No return address. Inside was a sealed envelope and a flash drive. The letter had only one line. "You deserve to know why she ran." Michael's hands trembled as he plugged in the drive. A video appeared. Diana, 5 years younger, crying, shouting. "She's going to take Lucy from me." Diana screamed at someone off camera. "If Michael finds out the truth, I'm finished." The video cut. Lucy stood behind him. "What truth?" she asked softly. Michael turned pale. They sat together on the couch. Michael took a deep breath. "Lucy, there's something I didn't tell you." Lucy's heart raced. "When your mother left," he said, "she was already under investigation." Lucy frowned. "For what?" Michael swallowed. "Fraud. And emotional abuse." Lucy's hands clenched. "She ran before the court could decide," he continued. "And she took you so she wouldn't lose everything." Lucy's voice shook. "So, she didn't leave to protect me?" Michael shook his head slowly. "She left to protect herself." Lucy felt something crack inside her, but this time, it wasn't pain. It was clarity. That night, Michael's phone buzzed. A text message. "Diana, enjoy this while it lasts. You don't know what I'm capable of." Michael showed Lucy. Her hands trembled. "She's not done," Lucy whispered. Michael locked the doors. "No," he said firmly. "But neither are we." He looked at Lucy, eyes steady. "This time, we're ready." Lucy nodded. For the first time in her life, she believed it. The knock came at 2:13 a.m. Not loud. Not polite. 3 sharp raps that sliced through the silence. Lucy woke up gasping, her heart hammering as if it already knew. She sat up, listening. Footsteps. Michael's voice, low and tense. "Lucy, stay in your room." Her hands shook as she hugged her knees. She counted her breaths the way the school counselor had taught her. 1, 2, 3. Then she heard it. Her mother's voice. "I just want to talk," Diana said sweetly. Michael didn't open the door. "It's 2 in the morning," he replied. "You're not allowed here." Diana laughed softly. "You always were dramatic, Michael." "I'm her mother." "And the court disagrees," he said. There was a pause. Then Diana's voice dropped. "You think a judge can erase blood?" Michael's phone buzzed. He was already dialing 911. Lucy pressed her ear to the door, her chest tight. Lucy, Diana called suddenly. I know you're awake. Lucy flinched. I brought you something, Diana continued. Your old diary. You forgot it. Lucy's stomach twisted. She remembered that diary. Every fear. Every apology. Every secret. Sirens cut through the night. Red and blue lights flashed across the walls. Diana stepped back, hands raised, her smile gone. Two officers approached. Ma'am, one said, we need you to step away from the property. Diana's eyes burned with rage. This isn't over, she hissed, locking eyes with Michael. You stole my daughter. Lucy stepped into the hallway. No, she said softly. You lost me. Diana froze. For a split second, something like pain flickered across her face. Then it vanished. The next morning, Detective Harris sat at Michael's kitchen table. The old case was reopened, he said. Your ex-wife ran from a fraud investigation involving charity funds. Lucy stared. She was using donation money meant for children, the detective continued. Including money listed under your daughter's name. Lucy's hands shook. So, even the food, she whispered. Yes, Harris said gently. She chose not to use it. Michael closed his eyes. Charges were coming. Serious ones. 2 days later, Lucy sat in a small visitation room. Diana entered, no makeup, no confidence. Just anger. You think you've won, Diana snapped. Lucy didn't flinch. I just wanted my mom, Lucy said quietly. Not a jailer. Diana scoffed. You're weak. Lucy shook her head. No. I survived you. Diana stood suddenly. I gave you life. Lucy looked her in the eyes. And he taught me how to live. The guard stepped forward. Time was up. Diana was led away. She didn't look back. Lucy did. And felt nothing. That night, Lucy slept without nightmares. In the morning, Michael handed her a small box. Inside was a new diary. Start again, he said. Lucy smiled. She wrote one sentence on the first page. This is the story where I choose myself. The courtroom was quieter this time. No reporters. No shouting. Just truth. Lucy sat beside Michael, her feet barely touching the floor, clutching the edge of her seat as Diana was brought in wearing gray. She looked smaller. Not powerful. Not terrifying. Just tired. The judge's voice echoed. Diana Parker, you are charged with financial fraud, child neglect, emotional abuse, and misuse of charitable funds. Each word landed like a stone. Lucy held her breath. Diana didn't cry. She stared straight ahead. When it was time to speak, Diana stood. I did what I thought was necessary, she said flatly. I made choices. The judge raised an eyebrow. Do you feel remorse? Diana turned slowly. Her eyes met Lucy's. For the first time, there was no anger. Just exhaustion. I don't know how to love, Diana said quietly. And I didn't want to be alone. Lucy's heart trembled, but didn't break. That was not an apology. That was a confession. The gavel came down. 5 years, the judge said. With mandatory rehabilitation and no contact with the minor. Lucy's shoulders relaxed for the first time in months. Michael exhaled deeply. It was over. Outside the courthouse, a small group waited. Advocates. Teachers. Other kids. A woman stepped forward. Lucy, she said, would you like to speak? Lucy hesitated. Then nodded. She stepped up to the microphone, hands shaking. My mom taught me that silence was safer, Lucy said. But silence almost destroyed me. People leaned in. If someone hurts you and calls it love, she continued, it isn't love. Her voice steadied. And if you're scared to speak, someone is waiting to listen. Applause erupted. Lucy blinked back tears. That evening, Michael sat Lucy down. There's something else, he said gently. Lucy tensed. Nothing bad, he added quickly. I promise. He handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter. Lucy, I've followed your story through the courts. I was one of the donors your mother stole from. I want to help the right way. A scholarship. Any school. Any dream. Lucy gasped. For me. Michael smiled. For your future. Lucy hugged him tightly. Months later, Lucy stood on a stage at her school. She wore a clean uniform. New shoes. Her name was called Lucille Miller. She smiled. She liked how it sounded. 5 years later, Lucy stood at the edge of the lake where everything had changed. The water was calm, reflecting the sky like a promise kept. She was taller now, stronger. Her fear no longer lived in her shoulders. Behind her, Michael watched quietly, pride filling his eyes. Lucy's life didn't become perfect, but it became safe. She learned how to laugh without checking the room, how to eat without guilt, how to sleep without fear. Therapy helped. Time helped. Love helped most of all. Michael never missed a school play, never forgot a birthday, never made her feel small. One afternoon, a letter arrived from the correctional facility. Lucy stared at it for a long time before opening it. Lucy, I don't expect forgiveness. I'm learning what I broke. If you are happy, that is enough. Lucy folded the letter. She didn't reply. Some closures don't need answers. At her high school graduation, Lucy stepped onto the stage. The auditorium went silent. I was taught that love had to be earned, she began. That children should be quiet, grateful, and invisible. She paused. I learned that love is none of those things. She looked at Michael. Love shows up. Love feeds you. Love stays. The crowd rose to their feet. That night, Lucy placed her old diary into the lake. She watched it sink. I'm done carrying this, she whispered. Michael stood beside her. You always were brave, he said. Lucy smiled. I just needed someone to remind me. Lucy walked forward into her future, not as a survivor, but as a thriver. A girl who learned the hardest lesson of all. You don't owe loyalty to someone who hurts you. If this story touched your heart, like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps bring powerful stories of hope, healing, and second chances to light. Remember, someone out there needs to hear this today.